Procurement fraud in both public and private sector is a costly and very difficult state of affairs whenever it occurs. It is usually cumbersome and hard to spot, but just like any other type of fraud, it can still be prevented and controlled. In an estimation by the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners ACFE, 5% of purchasing is wasted on fraudulent procurement schemes. Hello, my name is Abbas Abubakar.
You must be greedy. Yes, that's why you always fall for that 100% return on investment offers. Do you have money to invest? Are you busy and looking for where to put your money? Do you easily fall in love? Do you find time to fact check the information and business offers that you get? Okay, I want you to listen. Businesses, ideas, and good juicy offer does not come easy, and of course you cannot get 100% on such a short period of time. If actually it does exist, they won't tell you about it. So I want you to understand that those fraudsters would have been out of business if not because of you, because you hardly find time to check the details. You are being swooped by their amazing offer. Now, you need to put them out of business. When you have a business proposal, check it, find time, and if you don't have the time, do not invest. Be at alert. Be careful.
We start today's program with updates on the activities of the EFCC in the past week. The executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, has disclosed that many public officers are now perfecting the antics of anticipatory declaration of assets to justify their intended stealing of public funds and other acts of corruption. He stated this in Abuja while delivering a goodwill message at the launch of the virtual tool on the Code of Conduct for Public Officers, organized by the Code of Conduct Bureau, CCB, in collaboration with the Technical Unit on Good Governance and Anti-Corruption Reforms, TUGA.
Explaining how anticipatory asset declaration is done, Olukoyede disclosed that during an investigation carried out by the EFCC, discovered something not too strange that proves how criminally smart politically exposed persons carry out some of the various activities EFCC investigates them for.
CCB is one of the most effective, potent, effectual constitutional body that we can use to support the fight against corruption in Nigeria.
He urged the leadership of Code of Conduct Bureau to take note of such criminality and intensify investigations through innovative ways to curtail corruption. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi SAN, in his remark, pointed out that the bedrock of public service is adherence to standards and ethics of service. He applauded the visual tool designed by the Code of Conduct Bureau as a significant milestone in the digitalization and technological investigation of public conduct, stating that it will promote preventive compliance and awareness. Speaking also at the event, the head of service, Mrs. Didi Esther Wasinjak, while commending Code of Conduct Bureau on the launch of Virtual 2, stressed the need to leverage on technology in solving problems, adding that it is faster, smart, and more transparent. She further stated that without Code of Conduct and ethics, no reform will last, adding that ethical governance is not optional. In his open speech, Chairman of Code of Conduct Bureau, Abdullahi Usman Bello, explained that the tool will make public officers to be accountable and easy to use. He added that the tool will ensure that public servants carry out their duties in high esteem.
The executive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukoide, has charged students across the country to embrace positive use of the cyberspace for personal growth and national development. He gave the charge at the first edition of the Digital Festival of the Rivers State University, Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Addressing the students on the topic proper use of the cyber world for gain-getting, the EFCC boss, who was represented by the head cybercrime section of the commission, Chief Superintendent of the EFCC, CSE Ibrahim Musa, urged students to see the internet as a platform for innovation, learning and legitimate enterprise rather than for cybercrime. And so Alexander Eni has more on the story.
While charging the youth to take positive advantage of the opportunities in cyberspace, the executive chairman decried that some youths are using it negatively. The EFCC boss also spoke on the benefits of digital assets such as Bitcoin, encouraging students to continuously explore their positive applications, while warning against internet fraud and other illicit activities, while drawing the attention of the youth to the adverse consequences of cybercrime as provided in relevant cybercrime laws. He also warns that such offenses carry severe legal and social repercussions. Also speaking at the event, Jonah Emmanuel, Director of Excellence Academy, Business and Innovative Professional, encouraged the students to leverage the internet to sell their ideas, create solutions, and earn legitimate income. The event brought together technology experts and business innovators to inspire students towards positive engagement in the digital world. I am Chinonso Eni, reporting for The Eagle.
Operatives of the Lagos Zonal Directorate 2 of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have commenced investigation of one Duru Ikechukwu Damien, arrested by the Nigeria Customs Service (NCS) for allegedly failing to declare the sum of 59,000 United States dollars. Damien was intercepted by operatives of the NCS during a routine check at the AML CFT Currency Declaration Desk at the Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos.
Upon his arrest, the suspect, who was scheduled to travel on Emirates Airline to Dubai, claimed he had only $10,000 on him. However, when a search was conducted on him, a sum of $49,000 was discovered undeclared, totaling $59,000. During the handing over to the EFCC on Tuesday, August 12, 2025, the area controller in charge of the Nigeria Customs Service at the airport, E.I. Harrison, said the exercise has been an ongoing process in line with interagency collaboration between the NCS and the EFCC. He stated that the NCS have carried out sensitization and have had public announcements, adding that presently at the airport, announcements are being made at intervals on the need for travelers to declare their currencies or equivalents. The area controller wondered why, despite the electronic signages in the halls displaying sensitization messages at intervals, people who fail to adhere to the extant laws and regulations are arrested.
Today, we are having a process that we've been doing over a period of time now. When we intercept currencies, we do the needful of handing it over to the appropriate agencies of government. We have carried out synthesization. We have had public announcements. Even presently in the airport, at intervals, announcements are being made on the need for travelers coming in or going out of the country to declare their currencies. or their equivalent to the Nigeria Customs Service. The signage, electronic signages in the halls displays these messages. Yet, at intervals, we also have people who fail to adhere to extant laws and regulations.
While receiving the suspect, the Acting Zonal Director, Lagos Zonal Directorate 2, EFCC, Assistant Commander of the EFCC 1, Ahmed Gali, said they came to take over one of the recalcitrant Nigerians who do not want to abide with the law in relation to money laundering. He added that the two institutions will not relent in enforcing the law, adding that laws are meant to be obeyed.
Hereby, as a commission, on behalf of our executive chairman, take over these exhibits, both the declared and the undeclared sum, along with all the traveling documents and the other relevant documents for our further necessary action. And definitely, justice is going to be served, which is going to be a deterrence to others. So we are using this opportunity to still call upon all Nigerians that are traveling outside the country or coming into the country to please declare the cash on them. Anything in excess of $10,000. That's the law, and that law must be adhered to. We urge public to adhere to these laws, and any violation will be met up with all that law required as a punishment.
Gali further stated that EFCC will always do its best in line with its mandate to ensure that any individual who violates the law does not go scot-free.
Procurement fraud is more likely to occur in situations where there is a high volume of purchasing and a low rate of procurement oversight. Procurement fraud becomes more likely when the internal perpetrator is under financial stress or has personal struggles such as substance or gambling addiction. Sometimes the internal conspirator is dissatisfied with the employer or compensation. Let us now join our guests on the interview segment to discuss the topic, preventing procurement fraud in public and private sector.
Procurement fraud has become a growing concern in both the public and private sectors globally. It undermines government credibility and diverts resources such as services meant for public. Furthermore, the difficulties of procurement transactions make the private sector attractive to fraudsters. This reduces profitability and exposes the private sector to reputational risk. Today, I have with me as guest Assistant Commander of EFCC 2, ACE2 Richard Wereha. He's the Head Procurement Fraud Section, PFS, of the EFCC here at the corporate headquarters, Abuja. He will be speaking on the topic, preventing procurement fraud in public and private sector. You're welcome.
Thank you, Miracle.
What is procurement fraud and how does it occur, typically in public and private sectors?
Procurement fraud is a very, very broad term. Based on the Public Procurement Act, any unethical, deceptive, unlawful act which is done to undermine the public procurement process is known or constitutes what we know as procurement fraud. And if you notice, when I was trying to define it based on the Public Procurement Act 2007, I used process. It's a process that starts from the planning stage to the execution stage or award of the contract, which is the execution stage. So any act that undermines the process in any of these stages constitutes what we know as procurement fraud.
Yeah.
So it's segmented, it's in phases. So any act at any point which undermines the integrity of the process constitutes that. It can also be defined, or you can also look at it as any action which you take that undermines the procurement system, personal or financial gain. That is known as procurement fraud.
Are there some common red flags that suggest procurement fraud is taking place?
There are common red flags for such things to happen. And one of the red flags you should be looking out for, one, is when you see a particular company always getting contracts steady, year in, year out, monthly, or payments cuts across so many things, you should also know that there is a problem. There is a problem. Then also we should also look at close relationship between the vendors and the contractor, the entity which is giving out these contracts. Those are some of the things we should be looking at. A situation where you see a particular company, then there's also on that thing again, you see a company which, for instance, they just registered it today. Next month, you've given him a contract of 1 billion naira. The company does not have the technical skills, the expertise, or even the financial power to carry out that particular project. Those are some of the red flags which we will also find. Then also, whenever you see procurement staffs resisting audit of procurement process, those are some of the red flags that should be looked at seriously. That there is need to go further to look at the process in which these projects were done, how it was done, or if these projects were eventually done.
What ways do suppliers and vendors, because we know procurement has to do with suppliers and vendors, and also public officials and contractors, manipulate procurement process?
Mentioned all these things, collusive bidding, which is also known as bid rigging. Yeah. Miracle is my friend. I want to, yes, favoritism. Then I want to look at it, then I want to assist him. Then I give you a contract. So those are some of the bid rigging. It gives you an edge. It eliminates the aspect of competitive bidding, and it promotes mediocrity. Then there's also the issue of falsification of documents. I want to help you. Now, this document, and there are certain statutory documents that you do not have. But because I want to help you, I now you go ahead, forge documents. And meanwhile, there's what we call the submission of bid stage, and where the bids will be opened and looked at, so to get pre-qualified for the job. By the time these bids are done, because you have forged a lot of documents, I will tick. So those are some of the things that can be done. Then there's also the issue of because of the issue of interest, especially where money is involved or has been involved. Substandard jobs are usually done. Then kickbacks and bribes, there are so many other things. Then there's also the issue of favoritism, like we've said. Let me go further to give you more explanations. One, Miracle, my friend. Miracle, my schoolmate. Miracle, my family member. Now when I take position, if I don't help my family or help my friend, who would I help? There's nothing against helping people, but it should meet the requirements. It should meet certain state standard. If there's any interest in anything, the interest should be properly declared. That way we will be able to have the best service at all times.
Is procurement fraud difficult to dictate, at its early stage? Is it difficult?
Yes, it's a very difficult thing to detect at its early stage. Good. One, I told you it's a process. Yeah. Meaning that it's not just a thing that happens once. Yeah. It has to be, it starts from the planning stage. And the planning stage involves if an organization doing a needs assessment of where and what they need. For instance, the process where an organization needs, for instance, 60 computers, they make the computers 200. There's already a procurement fraud taking place at that stage. You may not even be able to discover it until the end when the act has already been committed. So it's always a very segmented process, and it's a very complex process.
How does procurement fraud affect the economy and public trust?
Well, that's a very, very serious thing, because it's something that is very obvious for all to see every day. Because immediately it happens, first of all, people, the public, they lose trust in government, first of all, because they will say, government approved road for them. See, the government didn't do the road. Every 4 years they abandoned the road. First of all, that is the perception of people is in government will be very, very poor. The lack, then first, apart from the fact that the obvious one is loss of public funds, theft, because all these monies are now diverted into personal hands. So it's very difficult. They will now get into public hands. People lose trust in government. It creates a very, very negative perception, on government and people. So it's not even a very good thing.
Now, that takes us to the major question. How effective are procurement laws in the country? And, what are the existing penalties for the offenders?
With the Public Procurement Act of 2007, it has given the Bureau of Public Procurement to oversee procurement process in Nigeria. And they have gone further to bring about regulations to guide the process. And they have the power to sanction any erring vendor or contractor in the process. So that's effective in that aspect. Yeah. There are also clear legal regulatory frameworks which guides the process, which is in the Act too. Very, very good. Then the punishment for offenders for private individuals is between 5 to 10 years. In the case of public office holders, is between 5 to 10 years. So that is serving as for corporate entities 2 to 5 years. So it's serving as a great, yes, to discourage public procurement. But a lot of awareness too needs to be done. A lot of training needs to be done. A lot of education needs to be done so that we could have a better system.
What are the best practices for maintaining transparency and accountability in procurement?
The highest that we can do is to have a bidding system which will be automated. That way, you bid online, you see the bids, you win the bids online there, and then all the bidders will see whatever they are bidding. That will be the highest level in terms of public procurement system. However, with what we have now at the moment, well, it's good. One, all contracts should be advertised. Then there should be open and competitive bidding system. The vendors should have access to information and on documentation and everything that you should have access to at every given point of the stage of the process. Conflict of interest should be declared immediately by any of the procurement staff.
Thank you so much, ACE to Richard Wereha. But before I let you go, what is your last word or your advice to those listening or watching us, on preventing procurement fraud in public and private sectors?
My opinion is this, that, as at now, procurement fraud is still the biggest means of fraud in governance. Yeah. Because most monies are moved through either fictitious or non-existent projects or through substandard projects. So there is need to have for states, even in states, to domesticate their own procurement laws. There is need for high-level professionalism to be exhibited by ministries, departments, and agencies in the procurement process. There is need for trainings for procurement officers, and above all, which the government should look at maybe possibly in the future, is looking for an automated system to do the procurement. That way, it will eliminate all these human errors and interactions.
Procurement fraud may hide behind contracts and transactions, but the cost is paid by everyone. Remember, transparency in procurement is our duty. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and let's keep corruption out of our contracts. My name is Miracle Chukwuagoziem. Back to the studio for the rest of the program.
It
It is important that we avoid and stay clear from procurement fraud, whether in public or private sector, to enable safe business environment for our country and stakeholders. Let us say no to deal fixing and kickbacks, conflict of interest, sham company payment, inflation or under-delivery and falsifying statements. These are the common types of procurement fraud either in the public or private sector. Also, remember, the EFCC is always watching and could be on your trail. They will surely get you anywhere, anytime. And don't forget to keep the discussion going through our email info@efcc.gov.ng. If you want to speak to our officers, the line to call is 080-933-22644. Again, 080-933-22644. Do follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, now X, and Instagram at official EFCC in one word for all matters relating to economic and financial crimes. My name is Abbas Abubakar.